Well, good evening, everybody, and how are we all doing? It is Sunday, the 25th of January, 2026. Hope you're well. Hope you are having a great weekend. Hope you've had a great week. Oh, it's good to be back. It's good to be back here in the seat. I've had a few problems this evening, just trying to get everything ready. I won't go into details, but video editing software is not working. Might be a bit of a problem a little bit later on, but we'll get into that when the time comes. How are we all doing? Hope you are well. Hope I've already asked how your week is going. Now, coming up today, I want to talk about how do you look after your garden tools. I think this is an often overlooked subject. Garden tools are important for all of us. We need them to work in our garden. We need them to work. We need them to be able to take the battles that we do on our allotment, on our kitchen garden. They need to last. They need to be sharp. They need to really have a rough life, but still last. And I'm a firm believer, if you buy decent tools, you look after them, they will last you a lifetime. So, how do you look after your garden tools? While you mull on that question, let me see if we've got anybody in the audience. And straight away, we can see we've got Adrian there saying, "Hi, Richard and all. Good evening to you." We have got Allotted Chef, aka Nathan, saying, "Evening all. Good evening to you." We have got Rob saying, "Good evening, all you lucky people. Good evening to you." Turbo Streamers there saying, "Good evening, Veg Podcasters. Good evening to you." We've got Rob saying, "Hi." Oh, hang on. Scott saying, "Good evening, all. Good evening to you." We have got Digwell, "Hi all, and how's it going, Mary?" Rob is "Hey up, Gordon." I keep getting caught out with Rob. Hargrave Gas, "Evening all. Hope everyone has had a great week." Question I asked as well. Anna Jones, "Good evening, Gardeners. Good evening to you." Bonnie says, "Hello, I've arrived in time." Indeed, you have. We have got. There we go. Beddoes, Mr. Beddoes, "Evening all. Good evening to you." Muddy Puddles Farmers there saying hello to you. Bonnie is there. "Is it okay not to go to my allotment for 3 weeks? I'll go tomorrow." Of course it's okay. Of course it's okay. At this time of year, as much as I believe that we need to get down the allotment even at this time of year, there is not a huge amount that we can do except for infrastructure jobs and just getting ahead of ourselves for the coming year. So it's absolutely fine not to go down the allotment at the moment. Stuart says, "Evening, Richard and Veg Army. Hope we are all well." And same to you, my friend. Turbo Stream saying, "Hi, Rob." What have we got? What have we got? Nigel is there. "Evening, all. Good evening to you. Hope you are well." And that's caught us up. That has caught us up. There we go. I've just realized. So, with all the troubles I've been having, I haven't been able to check what's going on Instagram. I'm hoping we are going to be there. Let me see what's going. Let me see if I can see anything going on over there. No. Can I see anything? No. Hopefully, I don't know how we're going to do this. Hopefully, somebody could go over onto Instagram and just relay any messages to me. Anyway, how are you looking after your tools? That is the question that I'm asking today. Now, as I said at the beginning, I do believe that good quality garden tools will last a lifetime if they are looked after. And when I say looked after, they do need a bit of TLC. It's no good just going to use your garden tool, get it covered in mud, leave it outside, let it get covered in rain and mud and everything else. It's not going to last. It needs a bit more TLC than that. So one of the very, very, very first things that I say when it comes to looking after your tools is to not leave them lying around. When you finish using them, put them away, hang them up. Just don't leave them outside when they are not in use. Now, this is obviously, I'm going to teach you how to suck eggs a bit, but I think at this point, it's just important. If you leave them to go in the rain, the wood is going to get wet. It's going to get sodden. It's going to get rotten, and then it's going to break right when you need it. If it's metal, it's going to rust. It's just not going to last. So first things first, I just say, put your tools away when you don't need them. Turbo Stream says, I pop into my allotment once a week, but it's so wet, there's no point trying to do anything down there at the moment. Absolutely. I'm with you on that. I am with you on that. It is a bit of a weird time. Rob says, that's why I've not been down. Turbo Stream says, how do I look after my tools? I store them in a shed. Absolutely. I think that is, that if they only do one thing, it's to store them in a shed. Honestly, I just think that is the first thing we need to do. Rob says, same here. More wet to come this week, Rob. Bonnie says, all my tools are secondhand from Facebook. That doesn't mean you shouldn't look after them. Most of my tools are also secondhand as well. And I'm a firm believer in that secondhand tools, especially the older tools, are better than the modern ones. They're built to last and they will last. So, yeah, nothing wrong with secondhand tools in the slightest, but still got to look after them. A tool, and it be your spade or your fork, it will only break when you are needing it, when you need to use it. So you've got to avoid that at all costs. Nicola's joined. Evening, Richard. What a week. What's gone on? What's gone up? And thumbs up. She says, Muddy Puddle says, I'm bored of the rain now. It's not funny anymore. I'm with you on that. I was saying just yesterday, we could just do with a bit of sunshine, a bit less rain. Or we can have rain overnight. We'll allow that. A bit of rain overnight, but sunshine during the day, less wind as well, so we can just get outside and do what we need to do. Rob says, crazy wet at the moment, mate. Nicholas says, we had a little sun today, so wet underfoot. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Stuart, this is getting into my answer to the question. So I also, says Stuart, oil my wooden handles every winter. Yeah, I'm with you on that as well. Every winter, I do give all my wooden handles a good oil with some linseed oil. I give it a bit of a sand down with a bit of sandpaper first just to tidy it up a bit, but then I just liberally rub in some linseed oil or anything like that to really get into the wood, really let that wood soak it up. And all that does with wooden handles is it stops the wood from going brittle and therefore easy to break. And it's something I do every winter. So important. Bonnie says, what oil do you use, please? For wooden handles, it would be linseed oil, but I've got other oils that I use in other places as well, which we'll get into in just a moment. Turbo Stream says, I've only oiled one handle when I repaired a 3-tine cultivator as the head was loose. I do intend to oil the handles at some point. I have half a bottle of linseed oil to take down. There we go. Do it. It's got to be done. It's got to be done. Honestly, your tools will last so much longer with a bit of that. Scott says, I was guilty of leaving them lying around, so now I make sure I check them in and out of the shed when on the allotment. Everybody is guilty for leaving tools lying around. As I say, for me, it's one of the most important things we can do is put our tools away, but we are all guilty of leaving them lying around. And it could be things like a pair of secateurs that you've just unfortunately you've been using and you've placed them down and you don't know what, you can't see them, you've forgotten about them, and then you find them a few weeks later. One thing that happened to me, I had a pair of head shears down on the allotment going back a few years ago now, and I didn't know that they disappeared one day. I didn't know what happened to them, where they had gone and what have you. And then a few months later, I was digging the compost out of my compost bin, and there they were inside the compost. In with all that compost was my hedge shears. So it's just something so easily to do. One of the ways that I think, if you can do this, is it's a bit old school, but when you hang your tools up, it's a good idea to have each tool have its own place. So when you finish for the day, you can give a quick check and see if any tools are missing. Just as a little a little thing that you might want to do. We have this at work on our office walls and stuff like that. It works quite well. It's an old-fashioned way of checking in and out your tools, but it's a visual cue. If any are missing, you know you've got to go and check. Bonnie says, I lost a hammer at the plot, still not found it, even using a metal detector. Could be anywhere. Could be anywhere. As I said, we are all guilty of that. I tried Castrol, but I found it tastes better on my chips. Talking of oil. Duckham's has a nutty flavour. Muddy Puddle says, I have to put my tools away. If I left them out, I would never find them again. Absolutely, a security side of things. But yeah, potting the tools away when you finished using them. As I said, it's such a simple thing. It really is a simple thing, but people don't do it. People do make the mistake of leaving tools out. And I'm guilty. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not guilty of that. I am guilty of that as well. Bonnie says, when I took over my plot, we dug up 5 pairs of old secateurs that had been lost by previous plot holders. Doesn't surprise me at all. And you could probably, if they were old ones, you could probably soak them in oil and get them working again with a bit of TLC. I lost a metal hand trowel one year. It turned up when I emptied the compost bin, says Turbo. Exactly what happened to me. Rob says, I lost a pair of secateurs and found the remains after I had a fire. Well, did the handles burn or something? No. Hargrave, I don't look after my tools as well as I should, but I do have a bucket of sand and oil in which I push things like hose in to help get them through the winter. So actually, Hargrave, you've jumped ahead with the next thing I was going to say, because I have in both my sheds a metal bucket that I filled up with sand, and then I've poured over some old cooking oil from a deep fat fryer and things like that. And I top up the oil quite regularly. And this, for me, again, this is one of those tips I'm going to share with you, which has saved me a lot of time and really helps look after my tools. So when I finish using my tools, I take them over to that sand bucket. I try and give it a brush off all. I try and brush off all the mud before I do this. But once I'm packing them away, before I hang them back up, I take them over to my bucket of sand that has got oil over the sand, and I plunge the metal end of my tools into that sand several times. Now, this has 2 or 3 things. The sand, it acts as a bit of roughage. It removes any mud that might be left on your tools. It also it can help keep your tools sharp. Sand is used in sandpaper. It adds, I can't think of the word I'm trying to express here, but it just it's an abrasive. It just helps keep your tools sharp. But thirdly, it coats your tools in oil, which means they're less likely to rust and they're easier to keep clean in the future as well. So a bucket of sand with oil is a big tip. If you want to look after your tools, you want it easy, just fill up a bucket of sand, bucket of sand and oil, and keep it in your shed. Trust me, it will make a big difference. Gary says, sorry I'm late. Sunday nights are all Duckham, says Turbo Stream. He goes on, sorry I'm late. Sunday nights are always busy with family life. Apologies. It's the only night I figured I could commit to doing this show, which is why I do it on the Sundays. So apologies if it interrupts everybody else's. Anna Jones says, I'm constantly losing my trowels, secateurs and daisy grubbers. I also end up rescuing them from my compost bins or green council bins. So yeah, again, this is something that happens a lot. One of the things that I used to like a lot was and I still do like them actually, my Fiskars secateurs. And the reason that I like those is they are black and orange. So they're not a very natural colour. So if you do put them down or you drop them, they usually are quite easy to see again before they end up in the compost or anything like that. In theory, again, in practice, it doesn't always work out that way, but that's my theory. And I say that because if we take these secateurs from Kent and Stowell, these are good secateurs, nothing wrong with them, but they're not very eye-catching, are they? You drop them, you can easily lose them. But the good secateurs, we don't really want to lose them, do we? Rob says hi to Gary. Nicola says, I did something similar, Richard, with my veg knife. Found it 6 months later in the Dalek bin. Easy done. Easy done. Scott says they should make all small hand tools fluorescent or fit Apple AirTags to them or something. Bonnie says, my plot keys now have a large brass bow attached so I don't lose them. Again, easily done. Easy done entirely. Rob says, if I leave anything out on the allotment, I'll never see it again. Or one plot holder walks around and takes anything left out. That's wrong. We're all guilty of leaving tools out. Not saying that that we should do it, but we're all guilty of it. Nigel says, lost a Hori on the plot. Never found it. Had to buy another. That's a shame. Hori is such a good tool, but it's a shame. Again, Nigel, very experienced gardener. It just, as much as I'm saying, we've got to pull our tools away whenever we finish using them. It's so easy to forget, to get lost, anything like that. Nicholas says, my dad's tools he drew around so he knew when one was missing off the wall. Once the shed is sorted, I will be doing something similar. Yep. A good old tool storage with everything drawn out makes a big difference. Digwa says, bad idea with cooking oil as vermin like it. Use engine oil. Engine oil is just as good. I just used cooking oil because it's what I had. But yeah, engine oil, any type of oil these days. But yeah, vermin. I didn't actually think about the vermin side, but that's kind of obvious now when I think about it. But yeah. Bonnie says, I brought fluorescent tape to do all the handles. That's a good idea. Get some fluorescent electrical tape or something and just put that around the handles to make them stand out. That's a good idea entirely. Absolutely. Rob says the handles had plastic covered handles. The handles had plastic covered handles. I'm trying to think what you mentioned there to do with that, so I'm a little bit lost. Sorry. No apologies. I guess every night is busy with family life. I wouldn't know. I've only got me, the wife, and the dog. But life is still busy. Anna James says, I have a kitchen knife sharpener that I got from Lakeland Plastics, which is very good for sharpening gardening tools. Now, that's a good point, because something we haven't really spoken about is sharpening. And again, I'm going to use the secateurs as an example, because sharp secateurs do make the life really, really easy. So when I'm using secateurs, hose, even a spade, I do try to keep them sharp. And for knife sharpening, things like that, great things, good options. Personally, I use a little file that I just grab my file when I need to use it and just go along with a little metal file this is, and just file it down to sharpen up my tools as and when. When it comes to the middle of winter, when I'm looking for something to do and I really want to put my tools through their paces and give them a good tidy up, I actually do that on the angle grinder as well. And that really gets it good, really gets them nice and sharp for the coming year. But you've got to keep on top of it. It's very, very easy when it comes to cutting tools for them to go blunt quite quickly. So keeping on top of sharp tools. Sharp as well, I'm going off on a tangent here. Sharp tools are safer to use than blunt tools as well. So bear that in mind. Digwell says veg oil absorbs oil as well. There is an engineer rule: mineral oil for preserving metals, organic oils for organics like wood, etc., etc. Yeah. The reason I use vegetable oil on my tools is because they're coming into contact with vegetables. So I didn't really want to use like an engine oil on things that are coming into contact with my vegetables. So that's why I use vegetable oil. But I take it. Put an air tag on. Yeah. Falco, number 2, my favourite secateurs. I still like my Fiskars. My Fiskars ones. Digler says, those new secateurs could have helped with the tree. They would not have touched that tree. They would not have touched that tree at all. The branches are thicker than this would fit around that tree, that elm tree. Anyway, I've got hundreds of secateurs. I've got too many secateurs, really. But yeah, no, they wouldn't have helped with a tree at all. I actually did crack open some of my newer secateurs as well for that tree, thinking about it for the smaller branches. Nicholas says, Anna, showing age. They haven't been called Lakeland Plastics for about 20 years. I think not. I was just thinking Lakeland for the cooking shop. Muddy Boots says, a small round diamond file is good for curved blades. Yep, that's exactly what I use. Just a very small diamond file and just like a needle file type thing. Very, very good. Very good. Easy to keep on your person as well if you are on the allotment or down on there. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Digler says, always clean your cutters before using them to stop spreading disease. Absolutely. Again, this is something else I do recommend. Cleaning your secateurs, disinfecting them before and after using is the only thing I do. So something like this, Jay's fluid, and a little bit of Jay's fluid just on your just a little small tub of Jay's fluid. You dip your secateurs in and clean off any of the what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? Bacteria, disease, before it causes a problem. Yeah, definitely give it a try. Andrew said, evening Richard and Veg Army, and what have we got? Muddy Puddles Farm. Sharp tools cut cleaner and make less chance of introducing disease to plants. It gives a clean plant. Always sharpen my grafting tools before every use. Again, I'm with you completely. Sharp tools are safer. They do a better job. They give a cleaner cut. They just are such a great thing to have. By the way, if you are watching on Instagram, apologies, I can't see anything going on Instagram today because of problems that I've had. I just hope that we are going live there. Digger says, is Jay's fluid any good now that they have changed the formula? How do we test that, I guess would be my question. How would I test if it's any good? I'm trying to think of how to answer that. I know they had to take some of the original ingredients out because they're not very safe these days, but they've put the smell back in of Jay's fluid. But I don't know how we would test it. I'm trying to think of a way to test it. It's difficult, isn't it, to figure a way of running an experiment in the right way. Nigel says, not sure, but the smell is nowhere near what it was. Yeah, they put the smell back in, they tell me, because was it last year they were at press event? I think it was last year. And they tell me they put the smell back in. Rubbing alcohol would work, says Muddy Puddles Farm. And Rob says, I think we still use it as we know the name is good. There is an element when it comes to Jay's fluid. I'm just using Jay's fluid as an example. There is an element, though, that we do use it because it has got that trusted name, a name we all trust. I'm trying to figure out a way of working out if it is as good as it used to be, and I don't know. But any sort of garden disinfectant, I guess. What else did I have here? Is this a garden disinfectant? No, that's not a garden disinfectant, but I have got some other types of disinfectant that I've used over the years. All I would say is I've never had the disease carry through. So It must do something. It must do something. Rubbing alcohol would work, says Muddy. Yeah. It's just a disinfectant, isn't it, really? We don't want any disease or anything. Steve says, I think we... Oh, yeah, I've read those ones, haven't we? Nicholas says, I used an essential oil cleaner. It works really well and food grade. I guess we could use vinegar. Vinegar in rosemary or something. That could work. But I don't know. Again, how do you test it? How do we figure it out? Same as creosote. The original was far better. Again, agree with that, except for the damage it caused in its wake. It's like saying asbestos was a really good insulator, but you wouldn't want it these days, would you? Rob says, my dad always watered his garden in winter with a weak solution of Jay's fluid. I've heard that. I've heard people even spray their garden with disinfectant to get rid of any diseases. Would it work? Did it work? I don't know. I don't know. I use a blowtorch, says Tigwell. You get a blowtorch on your secateurs, do you? Tell me more. Tell me more, Tigwell, how you do that. Scott says, would a kitchen sanitizer spray work? I think it probably would, because it's the same thing. I don't know. I don't know. Trouble is, and this is where we've got to be a little bit careful, we should only be using products for what they are intended for. And I'm saying that because I don't want to get in any trouble for telling people to do the wrong thing and getting sued. We should always only use products for what they are intended for. So would kitchen sanitizer work? In theory, I guess it would. In practice, I don't know. Nigel says there was a product called Black Fluid Disinfectant, but never used it. I can't remember what the one I used to use. It was like a spray bottle, but it was quite a small spray bottle that I could carry around with me when I was doing my pruning. Digwell, creosote's been banned since 2003 for domestic garden use. Exactly. It was good stuff. It was good for preserving wood, but what it left behind was not so good. Always read the label, kids. Exactly. Always read the label, kids. I don't want to get in trouble for recommending stuff that nobody else can use. Anyway, right. It feels a good time to go to a video that has been sent in this week. And this comes in from Digwell, if I can just find it. Last week, I said to you about how I went to a garden centre as part of a mission to have a breakfast. Digwell, I asked you all to do the same and share your photos, but only Digwell so far has came up with the goods. So let's go to this and see how his turned out.
Okay then, guys, as promised last week, here is my trip to my local garden centre, Highfield Garden World, and this is at Whitminster on the A38 between Bristol and Gloucester. It's about 6 miles from my house, so it's quite handy. There's a nursery a bit closer called Kit's Green Nursery, and that is more of a traditional nursery. I wouldn't say acres and acres, but loads and loads of bedding plants and trays of vegetables, you know what I mean? So here we go then, I am wending my way through the concessions. I don't need any teddy bears or greetings cards. No cardigans today. No, I don't want any dresses either. No cushions, sorry. No potpourri. No bedside lamps or table lamps. No pullovers or jumpers. No blouses. No Skechers shoes. No, I do like Skechers, but not today, and they're too dear here anyway. No, don't want a new sofa. Outdoor furniture, that's getting close to being a garden, I suppose. Ooh, I wonder why I walked down this far. Hey, let's have some breakfast. When I bring my eldest granddaughter here, she just spends ages looking at these cakes. Salad counter and sandwich bar slowly filling up. Jacket spuds there later on, but that's for lunch, and like I said, I'm here for breakfast. I get a light breakfast, please. White poached egg, please. Sorry, that'd be awkward. Like fried bread with beans on top of it, please, and some mushrooms. Okay, tap.
And would you like white?
White will do, tap. Thank you.
There we are. Is the red one in there?
Yeah, cheers. Well, there we are. It's not breakfast at Tiffany's, it's breakfast at Highfield. Light breakfast and, yeah, cup of coffee, Americano. Used to be called black coffee, but it's now called Americano. And that was £11.65. Right, enough talking, getting stuck in. And the poached egg is done perfectly. Brilliant as ever. If you have a look on my channel and search for Highfield, the restaurant at Highfield Garden World, you'll see the previous video.
Okay, yeah, have a look. Thank
Brilliant,
you
thanks ever so much. Phew, okay then, that was fantastic. And here we are then in the actual garden centre, which itself is massive, probably as big as the rest of the, what you call them, concessions. On a good day, you can't see it from here, but on the hills over there, it's just about where I live over there. About a mile from the hill, but you can't see it. And all the ducks and geese are out here in the summer. They're in the houses at the end at the moment. The grandkids love it here. So, I'm off to find some spuds and shallots. See how much the raspberries are when I'm here. 15 quid. Yep, come back for those. I'm not doing it yet. Oh, let's go find the potatoes. Well, I got a few things. Yellow moon shallots, never tried those before. Stuttgart, I love them. Charlotte, I'm only doing a couple of spuds this year because I've stopped showing, and I got some different tomatoes, rainbow drops mixed, to rival tumbler. So anyway, there's the food section. Look at those flowers over there. It's got a little flower. Seeing them into bacon at the moment. Cool, look at that. Oh, I tell you what, that's cheaper than Tesco. Well, I know where to come for my Cotswold flowers in future. They're not a bad houseplant section here either. Like most garden centres, you know, there are not many these days, but look at this lot, there's quite a lot around there, all around there. All down where I've just come from, all where those ladies are making up some terrariums. Here they are, look. Not bad at all. And this is one concession I don't mind in a garden centre, the aquatic section, and this one is Water World. I come here quite a lot actually. One of the guys that serves here had a plot next to mine at Leaf and Ground, so as you can imagine we have quite a chat. Well, that's it then, some Brady elements again. Nice breakfast, nice garden centre. If you ever pass in this way, guys, I totally recommend it. Let's go find this shed. Here we are. I normally park the car well out of the way, and I get back to it and everyone's parked round it, so I can't get the door open, but I'm okay today. I suppose if you park like you stole it, nobody ever parks next to you. Right, hope you enjoyed this one. Catch you soon.
Hang on, let me, what's that? There we go, that's better, that's back to how it should be. Well, great little video. I want to thank Digwell a lot for that. Yeah, That looks like a very, very lovely breakfast. Very reasonably priced as well, I thought. At was it just over 11 quid or something like that? Bit cheaper than mine, but looked lovely nonetheless. Also quite impressed with the garden centre, but it did annoy me how much stuff you had to go through. We won't get into this conversation, but how much stuff he had to go through to get to where he needed to go, to get to the garden stuff, the sketches and everything like that. Just, we won't get into that conversation. You know how annoyed I get with that. Anyway, let's see what's going on. Andrew says, we use some of our homemade plum brandy to disinfect our tools, but sparingly. That sounds like an idea, doesn't it? One way of really trying to get things done. Nigel says Jay's fluid was similar to Armalitox. Both was used for sterilising the soil. Yeah. I think the trouble is I'm looking at it with modern eyes, aren't I? I sort of think nowadays that I wouldn't want to harm the life in the soil and things like that. We've learned a lot in recent years. Well, Rob says Jay's fluid states on the bottle, on the label, only for outside use. Anna Jones says Armalitox and the old Jays were both used to kill the dreaded honey fungus. Very strong but effective stuff. Yeah. Again, a lot of stuff that used to do the job, but a lot of it is banned these days. Also used for club root as well. Hargrave says, it's so disappointing. He only went in for a light breakfast. Well, got to think about your figure these days, and cost of inflation and stuff is making a light breakfast more and more. Well, that's all we can afford, isn't it? Turbo Stream says, I went to 2 garden centres. Neither had any John Innes number 3 I wanted. I did buy a coffee or breakfast as I forgot. Absolutely. Hargrave says, poached egg, nice, price less so. Yeah, the poached egg was nice. I thought that wasn't a bad price, actually, personally, but that may be me. Nigel says, food looks well presented. Eggs not case hardened under the lights. Yeah. Very true. So Stuart says, great price, Digwell. My breakfast cost £12.50 and it doesn't look as good as that. We should do something, isn't it? I was thinking while watching that, doing like a rate a garden centre where we all go out to different garden centres and rate the garden centre based on a set criteria, and including we can rate the breakfast at the same time as well. Muddy Puddles says the only problem with sterilising the soil is you're also removing the microbiology. That's what I mean. We've learned a lot these days about what goes on in the soil and how important it is for the life in the soil to survive. That it's a little bit different these days. Anna Jones says, I've still got an ancient bottle of Armalitox. I should probably throw it out, though. I'll be honest, I've never heard of Armalitox. I mean, I can't even pronounce it. Armalitox. I've never heard of it, so it's a new one on me. Muddy Puddles, I did sterilise my seed compost. I had terrible fungus gnats. Fungus gnats have been a lot more prevalent in recent years in a lot of compost, particularly seed compost, because I found indoors we were getting fungus gnats because of the seed compost. One of the ways I found of combating the fungus gnats is through carnivorous plants, particularly the sundews with the sticky pads. Having those, they did seem to catch those fungus gnats and get rid of them. One way I can suggest. What we got? Rob says, great video, Steve. Digwell says, a great garden centre. Excellent. Cheers, Rob. Stuart says, all my hand tools get washed before they go away, then wiped before I use them with J fluid. They used to do, was it J's fluid that used to be in like baby wipe type thing for your tools? Very expensive though. Very expensive for what they are. Digwell says, there is an IKEA type shortcut to get to the plant area. Fair enough. That is a good idea. I've often said that I think garden centres should be modelling themselves more on the IKEA, in that you go and see gardens like they used to. How I used to remember gardens is you would go and see the displays before you would see the plants, sort of thing. Anyway, again, on that high horse again, aren't I? Hargraves says, reasonably priced. I clearly only eat at cheap and nasty places. Nothing wrong with cheap and nasty. I don't know, what is because I'm sort of thinking now you can't get a breakfast around here for less than 12 quid, really, unless it's McDonald's. What is the price for breakfasts where you are? Never had honey fungus, so I don't think so. Can't see Rob's comment on MU live chat. I don't understand why his isn't coming up. I can see Rob's, so that's all that's important. Whatever happened to DDT, says Beddoes? That was another one that was banned, wasn't it? Again, I believe it was very, very bad. It was a bit before my time, but it's banned quite well. Did you get that sitting a long time on an airplane? Yeah, DDT on an airplane. Turbo Stream says, use all messages, Nigel. If I select top chat, Rob's messages aren't shown for some reason. Okay. Yeah, that reminds me. There is a function at the top of your messages to go from top chat or all messages, so you might need to go to that. Digwell says, don't forget you need to sterilize your old seed trays too, like the agralians. Yep. Again, I try and do that going into winter. I try and put all my seed trays and all my pots. I try and sterilize those and clean them up perfectly. Not always easy, but that's what I try and do, so that they are clean. Again, this sterilization is quite an important thing. What have we got? Muddy Puddle says to Muddy Boots. This is getting confusing, isn't it? Have you got old chats? Oh yeah, I think we've figured that out now. Stuart says, the gun centre I use, you got to walk through all the plants before you get to all the other shops, i.e. shoe shop, pet shop. That's good. I like that. I've got no problem with calf being further down the end, but I like that. What have we got? Digwell says, I've been known to stop at a roadside burger wagon instead of having a breakfast, but a breakfast roll baguette is £7.50-ish. Yeah, I'm with you on that. A good breakfast is expensive these days, isn't it? Everything's expensive though, isn't it? Even going out for a meal, you're looking at 50 quid a person these days. Everything gets more expensive. Anyway, let's come back to garden tools and how we care for them. We've discussed a lot about hand tools and putting them away, keeping them clean, sterilizing them, treating them. What about some of our bigger tools? What about our lawnmowers? I suspect that many of us don't really think about our lawnmowers. We use them, we pot them away. But I mean, I've gone for battery lawnmowers these days, but I do like, again, to give them a bit of a service, a bit of a tidy up. So again, when I finish using them, I try and clean it all down, especially all the grass that gets stuck up in the cutting area. Try and remove all that. It's good for the compost bin. Remove all that, give it a bit of a dust off as well. But once a year, I probably should do it more than that, but I take the cutting blade off my lawnmower and I get that on the bench grinder and grind that back down to get a nice sharp blade. Now, again, this is one of those things that I think is important, because generally when we first start cutting the grass, when would you say first cut of the year is? Probably April time, end of March, April time, usually when it starts growing. But I often find that it's a really thick cut, especially if we have a period of wetness. It's hard to cut the grass when it's wet, and you usually get a really thick grass. What I find with a sharp blade on the lawnmower is it does cut the grass so much easier and quicker. It makes it worthwhile. Digwell says, Stuart, you were going backwards. What was that? Turbo Stream says, I can't think the last time I went out for breakfast. I have no idea of costs. Yeah, it's not saying I do that often. It's just when you're out and about, it's nice. Nicholas says, my breakfast isn't expensive. I cook myself. There we go. There we go. But sometimes it's just nice to go out for breakfast, isn't it? Hargrave Gas says, full hearty breakfast in Wilmslow Garden Centre was $10.95. Premier Inn, unlimited breakfast, $10.99. I'm spending a lot of time in Manchester currently. Yeah, that's not a bad price, actually, is it? That's not bad price at all. By the way, I'm just going to remind anybody on Instagram, if you are watching and I haven't mentioned you, I'm sorry. I can't actually see what's going on Instagram today. Bit of a problem, but never mind. Digwell says, store tools with silica granules until needed, especially over winter. Yes, 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 yes. So those little packets you often get when you buy some goods that has do not eat, that silica gel, it's a really good dehumidification stuff. It absorbs moisture. Now, I've got them in lots of things, but I do like to use them in my sheds to dry the place out, to dehumidify. Eventually, the dream would be to set up a proper dehumidifier to look after your tools. Again, it just gets rid of that moisture. It makes them a little bit less prone to rusting. So yeah, good shout there. Does anybody use them? Is what Nigel was asking. Does anyone use silica gel to reduce rusting with tools stored in drawers? It's a good point now. You two having a conversation or something we don't know about, because you both said that at the same time. Muddy Puddles says, mine goes in for a service. They clean the carburetor, change the fuel filter, and sharpen the blade for me. You've obviously got petrol lawnmower, but yeah, these are all the sort of things that I don't think we discuss enough of how we look after our tools, lawnmowers, petrol strimmers or any strimmers, how you look after them. Turbo Stewart says, my lawnmower never gets any attention, much to my discredit. It is electric, mind. It's still worth giving it a good clean, tidy up. Nigel says, Digwell, you answered my question. You both asked exactly the same time. That's what got me as well. Rob says, we have a pub near us. I don't go in, by the way, but they do eat as much as you want for £9.50. Brilliant. I've got to admit, I went to Weatherspoons at the NEC for breakfast, and that was a big mistake. Never doing that again. But you to it, Nigel. I only eat out when on a holiday. Mostly use supermarket cafes, but even they are getting expensive. Yeah, everything's getting expensive now. Muddy Puddles, I've only used silica gel in my seed box. I do the same in my seed boxes. Rob says a lot of supermarkets are closing their calves to save money. Unfortunately, the cost of energy, electricity, and gas is making a lot of places close like that. So, yeah, we've got to support them at the same time. As I say, great minds. Does anybody else use silica gel on their tools? Is the question being asked there. Anybody else use silica gels? What do you think on that? I'm going to quickly... No, I'm not going to do that because I've got to do it in the right order. By the way, I should say I've started doing the photos, but I'm having IT issues, so I haven't been able to do everything that I would usually do. Stupidly, I got a new monitor this week, and it's a good monitor, but it just doesn't seem to be working as well as I'd hoped, and seems to have caused issues with various things. What have we got? Digwell says all supermarket cafes near me have closed, as Rob said. Yeah, it's expensive. Catering industry is really hit hard at the moment. It's hard on them. Fools never differ. Interesting. They are, Rob, particularly Morrison's. Again, It's not. I mean, we're going off on a different subject here, but I think it's relevant. I'm amazed when I go out on the rare times I do go out for a meal or on a night out, just how empty everything is at the moment. I went to a Indian restaurant on Thursday to repair their fridge. It's a friend of mine, and it was just amazing how empty, how people just aren't going out to eat at the moment. It's too expensive. It's too expensive, and I think there's a lot of things in the pipeline that are going to struggle. I think Sainsbury's has closed all of theirs. Turbo Stream says my hand tools are in a bucket in my allotment shed, so no silica gel for me. Stick the silica gel in the bucket. It will help. It will help keep the moisture off your tools a little bit. Excuse me. They really do need to be sealed, but yeah. Beddoes Premier Inn breakfast buffet is good value for money. Trying to think. I've stayed in. When did I stay in Premier Inn? Yeah, I can't think. But you kind of expect the breakfast in with it, don't you? When you stay in a hotel. Be staying in a hotel next month. Some of you will know. Going to a press event. I'm looking forward to that, to be completely honest. Right, I'm going to... Oh, no, there was a comment. It just came in there. Nigel says, anyone use WD-40? Yep. WD-40, another good thing to use on your tools. Or what WD-40 is a type of oil, but it's water dispensing. It removes water. It's not a lubricating oil as such. It's for moving or losing moisture more than anything. So it's yeah. I use WD-40. Again, I spray that over my bucket of sand when I have to spray WD-40 or anything like that. So any runoff, any spray off goes into the sand. Turbo Stream says it's an old chicken manure pellet box with no lid. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Digwell says I keep my decent tools in the shed, the car. You saw in the video, so no real need to preserve them. You say there's no real need to preserve them. I would disagree. I completely disagree. Reason being is that when they're going through the soil, when they're doing their job, they're going to be in contact with moisture and things like that. And if you just throw them back in your car at the end of the day, that water, that mud is sitting on them. So do need to do a few things is what I would say. At the very least, keep them clean. Rob says, I only use WD-40 for what it was made for. And WD-40 is better as it is more lubricating. WD-50, sorry, WD-450. Yeah, it's a misconception, isn't it? WD-40 was for lubricating. It's not. It's more for water dispensing. Turbo Stream says, I use 3-in-1 oil on my hedge cutter blades each winter. Again, exactly what it's for. Exactly what you need it for. And that's a good point as well. Hedge cutter blades. They're not something we often think of needing a bit of service, but a bit of oil does do them some good as well. Again, looking after our tools is incredibly important. Digwell says, did you know that WD stands for War Department? Well, in WD-40, it stands for Water Displacement. Water Displacement, 40th attempt to invent it. I can't quite remember what the 40 stands for, but yeah, it was Water Displacement for WD-40. War Department. Andrew says we need to eat in pubs. They are the hubs of community. Again, I don't disagree, but pubs are also suffering. It's unfortunately the way it is. Right, let's go to this week's mission because that ties in with this week. Okay, so for this week's mission, you wanted me to go and find some local honey. I'm in the car. I've been searching around all week for a few places. I was hoping to find somebody selling honey outside their house, but it hasn't been very successful, possibly due to the wind. But there's Roxy. Hello, Roxy. One of the things we're hoping is I've come somewhere where I get my milk from, and I'm hoping they sell honey here to? Let's go find out. So this is the Ovin cow shed. It's like a farm has set up. We get our milk from here with this vending machine. They also have this vending machine here, and as you can see, West Sussex honey. Let's get some, shall we? There we go, West Sussex honey. Lovely. Well, there we go, got my honey, I'm happy. Is that mission accomplished or mission failed? You let me know. I think it's accomplished. Indeed, was that mission accomplished or mission failed? I think it's accomplished. It was local honey. Yes, it was from a vending machine, but I would have liked to get one of those people who sell honey at the garden gate, but just not. It's just the wrong time of year for it. However, I got to admit, I did a bit of research online for local honey suppliers, and I was surprised actually how cheap it is. That jar I bought there, which I was quite happy with, that was, I think it was £6.99, £7.99, which I didn't think was a bad price when you look at the price of honey inside supermarkets. But there is a local, I say local, when I searched online, next town over has like a local beekeeper who supplies honey, and that's £5-6 a jar depending where you get it from, which I thought that's pretty good. So I think when we say things are getting more expensive, I think it does depend where we're looking as well. Something like honey, I think I've seen in supermarkets what they call proper honey, 12 quid. Well, I'll sooner go to a local supplier and pay a lot less and get decent stuff at the same time. Rob says, if it was not done that time, it would have been called WD-41. Digwell says, all pubs near me are gastro pubs. Bloody nightmare. Yeah, pubs have just changed over the years, unfortunately. Then they've had to try and keep the custom coming in. Nicholas says, I have a small bottle of graphite oil used for padlocks, but also good for hand tools. Yeah, I had a bottle of that stuff turn up last week trying to do my locks. I've got a problem with my locks on my back door I'm not happy about. Rob says, I will not pay £20 for a poxy burger. Where? Oh, yeah, talking about the pubs. Yeah, it's the trouble. They are getting very expensive now. Nigel says, not cheap now dining out in a pub, but do it on special occasion only. Yeah, unfortunately, it is the way it is. Village pubs did well. Again, they are expensive, even the village pubs. I love the vending machine idea. Mission accomplished. Yeah. I think, so completely off tangent. So that vending machine, they do milk, organic milk, about £1.50 a litre. It's lovely milk. It doesn't keep for as long. You only get about 4 days out of it, but it is lovely. And I like it because we are supporting a local farmer and he takes it straight there into that machine. It's lovely. It is absolutely lovely. And they branched out. They've got the milk, they've got milkshakes, coffee, teas, and then honey and things like that as well. Rob says, we live in a village and one pub thinks it's a Michelin star restaurant with the prices they charge. Yeah. Nigel says, just sprinkled some pepper down the microphone. Disappointed that Richard has not sneezed. Seem to have cured my sneezing at the moment, but that could all change. Nicholas says, my local honey sells on monthly basis, once a month at our village hall. You pay by weight, so bring your own jar and get it filled. I tell you what, I was looking slightly off tangent here, but I was looking into, I was looking for honey suppliers. And what I discovered shocked me. So in 2025, a new tax rule came in that the suppliers, the producers are responsible or get taxed, excuse me, for the cost of recycling their containers. So in the case of honey and jam, it generally comes in glass jars because it's heavy and because it's expensive, they get taxed more, which means they pass the prices on to us. We have to pay more because it's in a glass jar. Whereas in plastic, it seems to be cheaper. One, because it's lighter, but two, because it's easier to recycle. It doesn't seem right to me. It doesn't seem fair at all. Digwell says, Nigel, I have my tea towel ready just in case. Nicholas says, I went out the other Sunday and saw a local pub doing a Sunday roast for £10. I thought that was really cheap. That is very cheap, actually. If you can get it, get it. Not seeing vending machines around these parts. They're becoming more and more popular. I do think it is a way for farmers to get into the farm shops and things like that. I believe there's one that does meat, but I haven't found that yet. Digwell says, we have a few machines like that near me. Lovely milkshakes. Yep, absolutely lovely, isn't it? And we try and get all our milk from that because it just works. Beddoes, I'm looking to take the grandkids to Disneyland Paris. £100 each for a buffet tea. Yes, it's expensive, isn't it? It is expensive. But what I would say, so we grow our own, often to try and save money. Whether it saves money or not is another thing. But let's say it does. Sometimes we do need to treat ourselves and our family by taking them out for something to eat. And when we do that, we're also supporting the local people, we're supporting people's wages and things like that. So it is important if you can afford it. Rob says, yes, it was nice, cheap, as long as it was. Yes, it was nice and I can't read that. It's gone. It's gone. Hang on. I can't read it. Yes, it was cheap as long as it was nice. Right, there you go. Nicholas says, reduces theft of good. The vending machines, curbside, honesty stores often get hit, even with CCTV. Yeah. But this is actually in a village hall car park. It's really good like that. Any machine with money or goods, it would be broke in within 12 hours around our way. I don't know where you live, so I can't comment on that, but I'll take your word for it. Scott says, without the food, there would be no pub for many places. They need the food to make the money, and they need to be busy every day with food just to keep open. Yeah, it's a very, very tricky. And like I said, with the cost of everything else going on at the moment, it's no surprise, really. It's no surprise. Now, talking of food, so it's going to be a bit tricky. So I have here some honeyed parsnips. Now, I did film a video that I was going to show you of me making these honeyed parsnips, but for some reason, my video software isn't, I don't know if it's my monitor, I suspect it is, it's not liking it. So I'm a bit stuck. I couldn't make this video, and I only found out about half an hour before we went live. So I'm going to have to talk you through how I made these honey parsnips. First of all, I went out into the garden and dug up a few of our parsnips. We've still got parsnips in the ground and they're doing quite well. We've still got a few small parsnips which when you peel them won't have much left. So they came out at the same time. They obviously needed a bit more thinning, but we're going to use those in soups and things. But the larger ones, cut the top off, cut the bottom off, peeled, and then cut them into bite-sized pieces, I guess you could say. I then parboiled those parsnips in boiling hot water with a bit of salt, just for about 3 minutes. Now, this was a tip that Digwell shared with us in the past about parboiling parsnips before we roast them. And I've done that a lot lately, and it makes a huge difference. It really, really does. The parsnips are nice and fluffy. It really does make a big, big, big difference of just parboiling the parsnips, which, never knew. never knew what was going on, or never knew what was happening there. Anyway, once they were parboiled, drained them. I then put up in the oven a pan with some turkey fat that we've saved from Christmas dinner, just to get the oil nice and hot and melted. I then took that out of the oven, popped the parsnips in, drizzled it over with the oil, and then I drizzled over some honey, and then I roasted those for about half an hour. And I think what we've got here is some nice crispy parsnips. Let's see what they taste like. Oh, God. That is good. That is good. Really nice honey parsnips. Oh, God, that is good. That is really good. I'm going to have more of that. Really, really, really nice. Honey parsnips. Whoever recommended that, thank you. I mean, I've done honey parsnips before, but that is really, really nice. Andrew said, one should be prepared to pay whatever the pub charges. If you lose a pub, you lose the heart and soul of the village. Unfortunately, if people can't afford to go out to support the pub is lost. It's a horrible world we live in at the moment, where people are struggling financially. Let's face it. A pub sells beer, wine and spirits. A restaurant sells food, says Rob. Digwell says, as Scott will tell you, the whole hospitality industry has changed since COVID lockdown. Traditional pubs are few and far between now. I agree. Totally agree, says Digwell, with you, Digwell, there. Since COVID, I was seeing more and more restaurants less and less busy. And obviously, when I was on the road, I was repairing their fridges, and I would hear it firsthand just how quiet they are since COVID. Obviously, I don't do that line of work in the same way anymore. I'm more medical refrigeration, but they have taken a huge knock since COVID. People are not going out to eat, but then the cost of running everything. I mean, so all the electricity and gas, you are up several £100 a day just trying to keep the place running on fuel. It's massive. It's massive. Rob says, we have another pub in the village and they sell cobs, and the pub is always they only sell cobs and the pub is always busy. Yeah. Scott says, true, Digwell. I don't like corn on the cob, so no good to me. Yeah. Nigel says, I don't mind paying a higher price for decent cooked food, but refuse to be ripped off with some microwaved ovens. Again, I agree with that. As I said, it's just hard at the moment for everybody involved. People are not going out to eat because they can't afford it, and then food has got more expensive because they have to cover their overheads. Local honey makes them. Rob says, I like my pint, but £6 a pint is £6 is cheap. Getting a bit much when you can buy cans at £1 a can. And that is the problem, isn't it? That is the problem. We're talking about gardening, and here we are talking about pubs. It feels like a good subject today. The thing is, I believe that pubs and the catering industry, or that industry in particular, should get tax cuts, and then supermarkets have to pay more tax on the alcohol they sell. That way you're supporting local business a bit better, but also when people go to drink in a pub, it's monitored to a certain extent. There's going to be the barmaid watching how much you are drinking. If you're drinking at home, it's very easy to drink a lot and not think anything of it. So yeah. That's my 2 pence worth anyway. I got to make honey parsnips, says Andrew. They are lovely. They are absolutely lovely. I'm going to say this. I'm sure it was Digwell that said about parboiling parsnips. Before that, I always just roasted them. But boy, am I glad we parboil them now, because they are absolutely lovely. They are much, much, much better than what we had before. So thank you very much for that tip. whoever it was. I'm sure it was Digwell in one of Lee's shows. On that note, I can't show you any photos tonight either because, well, IT issues, which slowly getting sorted out. If anybody knows anything, well, we'll figure out. Rent or rave? Ooh, rent or rave? What we get? Oh, just before I get onto that, Nicholas says, "I like that idea, Richard. Shops and internet shopping, killing it all." Yeah. Rent or rave? I'm going to have a bit of a rant this week. And it's about the weather. Now, I'm noticing that during the week we're getting some nice sunny days, but when I'm not at work, when I want to get down the allotment, we're getting some nice hot sunshine. But then when I go out, as soon as I step out in the garden, the wind's high or it starts raining. I step indoors again, it stops. And that seems to be a thing over the last few weekends. I've been down out in the kitchen garden. I've been down on the allotment. I have been doing things, but the weather is really stopping me a lot. I don't know if anybody else is having this trouble, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Are you getting annoyed with the weather at the moment? The sunny days, when we get them, are heaven. They are what we need. But instead, I want good days again. I don't mind a bit of rain as long as it's overnight. But come the weekend, when I'm not at work, I want some good weather so I can go down to the allotment for an entire day and just crack out what I want to do. I also want to crack things out in the kitchen garden, just get everything sorted, ready. All I need is a couple of good days of good weather. Rob says you should have a rant about us talking about non-garden subjects. Nah, it's fine. It's fine. It's quite fluid. We're gardeners at the end of the day, but we're friends as well. We just have a chat, don't we? I have a subject and we see what happens. Nicholas says Cornwall just wet and windy constantly. Just had a few hours today of rain for most of the coming week. Yeah. It feels like it's just constantly raining. And what annoys me is in 2025, we had some very, very dry weather. And I was constantly saying, we need some rain. We need some rain. But it doesn't come. Or it came, and it hasn't stopped since it started. Dry spring, summer, and autumn. Wet winter seems to be the way. Fingers crossed it's going to balance out soon. Gary says, rain seems to be when I'm not working, not rain when I am. I'm looking forward to lighter evenings. Have you noticed how much the evenings are getting lighter lately as well? How much later the evenings are getting. It's quite nice. I'm sort of, just before I'm finishing work, it's still light. Digwell says 6 degrees of separation, clean garden tools, sow shallots and clean trays, harvest shallots with a clean trowel, buy vinegar, pickle shallots, have a ploughman's lunch, pub sells the ploughman's. There you go. That is the connection. You see, this is how the conversation goes. It's how we bring it back round. Nicholas says, your fault then, Richard. You can blame me if you want. If it makes you feel happier, blame me. It's not normal for Cornwall, though, is it? And then Scott says, it's the brewery if you are tied, not the pub most of the time. When I had a pub, I could buy the same beer for half the price at a local cash and carry than I could from my brewery. Yep, again, that's the trouble. The thing is, you got to remember, when you buy a pint in a pub, you're paying for the atmosphere, the lights, and everything else as well that you're enjoying that pint with. So there's a lot more to it, overheads and things. Benno's, as there's a few cooks here tonight, should I be getting the sprouts boiling for Christmas? Not yet. And I still say the reason that most people don't like sprouts is because they're overcooked. They only need 5 minutes at the most in the pan. Right. Stuart says, I know what you're saying, Richard. It only rains on a forest school day. It just seems to be whenever I have the opportunity to go into the garden or the allotment, it rains. I was walking the dog yesterday Digwell rang me while I was on the walk. I think he said it was tipping it down where he was, yet we had absolutely beautiful sunshine, but strong winds. And it annoyed me because I wanted to be out in the garden in that weather. I didn't mind being out in it and walking the dog at the same time, but I wanted to be out in the garden with that weather, and I didn't get it. So, yeah. Stuart says, our landlord told us that it has to take £150 a day before he starts making money. Yep. It is hard for most people these days. The trouble is, I don't know who to blame. I don't want to blame anyone because, everybody is in the same boat. We're all struggling financially. There's people who can't even put food on the table for the kids, sort of thing. And they should. Why should they be supporting a local business? It's difficult, isn't it? Difficult. Scott says, Ian, you should have got them on last week. Digwell says, cook along Welsh rarebit. I've just realised I haven't done the draw for it. So unless anybody else comes up with another cook along, it could be Welsh rarebit. I do like Welsh rarebit. Don't forget, I need a mission for next week as well. Something that you can challenge me to do next week. If you should come up with something. We've had some good ones lately, actually. I've enjoyed going to the garden centre. I've enjoyed searching for local honey. But I could do with some more. Could do with some more good challenges. One of the things, don't know if anybody take part, and I'm going to talk about this more on the podcast tomorrow, actually, but did anybody take part this weekend in the RSPB's National Bird Watch, where you spend an hour watching what birds are landing in your garden? I did. I won't spoil what I had land in my garden. You'll hear more on that in the podcast tomorrow. But I was to set myself up in my shed, which obviously has big windows on the front, and it was lovely. I was in there sowing seeds and putting on plants for an hour, looking out the garden, seeing how many birds landed in my garden. Did anybody else take part in that? I know it's not necessarily garden related, but I do think it is garden related, actually. Nicola says, Gov put business rates up and by increasing national insurance, employers' contributions. Yep, exactly. They made it expensive. Scott says, I second Welsh rarebit. I had it at work last week with a poached egg, pickled onions, and a rocket. Was lovely. Looks like it's going to be Welsh rarebit. Nicola says, as we're not doing any photos, any comments on any photos we saw on the group chat? I can't remember any, I'll be honest. I started making the slideshow with the photos. So I saw that I think Nicola had shared some black tomatoes she got from a supermarket. She was hoping to save the seed, but I can't remember all the replies on the comments. There was lots of comments on all the photos. So if you are in the Facebook group, I know not everybody is on Facebook, but if you are in the Facebook group, do join up our Facebook group and go see the comments on them. I will try and bring them in next week. Nigel did the bird watch. Was it successful for you? Digwell says, I did. I got thrown out of swimming pool. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Not a good idea, kids. Not a good idea. Rob says, a lot of people are in business, but at the end of the day, it comes down to how much profit you want to make. And if you're greedy, you want to make as much. Yes and no, because I do actually believe people are in business to do what they love, but at the same time, they've got to make a living. And there's quiet times, there's busy times, you've got to counter for those. And if you want to employ people, you've got to make sure you can keep the work coming in. But there are some people who are too greedy, perhaps. I don't know. Wrong bird watch, says Dickwell. Stuart says, done the bird count. Then again, this week with the children at school. Brilliant. Nigel says 13 varieties only. You did better than me. Much better than me. That is good. Normally 2 or 3 for me, Digwell. Still better than me in both of those. I've kind of given it away a bit now. I want you to listen to the podcast tomorrow to find out more. Nicholas says, my cat brought in a gold crest birds, unfortunately, this week. Tried nursing it back to health, unfortunately died. Smallest native British bird, 6 grams only. That's small. That's small. But yeah, that's a shame. I love seeing birds in my garden. And we need to encourage them more. Stuart says Lidl's got seeds on offer. That's what I put on Facebook this week. I did see that. I put it down as you bargain hunting again. I saw that, Stuart. My car off-road, so stranded. I'm excited to get my new greenhouse, 8 by 18 foot. Yeah, I saw that nice big greenhouse that Nicola has bought. She's just got to get it from, I think it was Maidenhead, Berkshire, down to where she lives. She's going to struggle. Going to be interesting to see how you get that done. Nigel says, I did my watch on my allotment. I have feeders on there, so regular visitors. So here's the thing. I've got quite a few feeders in my garden, including some of the ones that you got me to make a few weeks ago. So I thought we were going to get lots and lots of birds in my garden. And I think usually whenever I look in my garden, we do quite often see lots of birds. Not when I did this hour. Not when I did this hour at all. I won't go into the details. Rob says, we got a lot of robins in our garden. Yep, we got a robin who often comes back every year to a garden. He, lovely little chap. He used to eat from my hand as well. But, yeah, he didn't show up when I needed him. It is nice to see all these birds in our garden, isn't it? I often equate it to the birds are going to be hopefully eating slugs and snails and other pests that we don't want. So they've got to work, got to bring them in. Nicola says, is a rhino, so hopefully survive wind where I live. Seller, bring it down for fuel and a day's wage. Not cheap, but 470 quid. Not bad at all. And Digwell says, single seed potato challenge 2026 entries are now open. So I'm going to take part in this again this year. The single seed potato challenge is something that Digwell does every year. Anybody that takes part, forgive me, Digwell, if I get anything wrong, hopefully you can correct me. You pay Digwell, I can't remember how much it is or how much it'll be for postage and packaging, and he will send you a single seed potato. What you then have to do is take that single seed potato, plant it, and try and get as many potatoes as you possibly can from that one single seed potato. Now, there seems to be lots of ways that people are doing this, but people do get a lot of potatoes from them. The secret, from what I've seen, the people who seem to do better, they take that potato, they might cut it into 3 so they get 3 individual plants. And when those plants are growing, they then take cuttings and get more potatoes from that. So there's a little clue. If you want to take part, go check out Digwell's YouTube channel and give it a go. I'll be taking part again this year as long as I don't forget about it. But I'm looking forward to trying and seeing how we get on this year. Nigel says, I have a rhino greenhouse, 14 years old and still like you. Excellent. Rhino do make some very, very good greenhouses, I've got to say. In fact, that might be a subject we could talk about next week. I haven't really thought about something we could talk about next week. What's it like having a greenhouse or a polytunnel? Are they worth the investment? Yeah, that sounds like a good conversation for next week. Is it worth investing in a greenhouse or polytunnel? That feels very, very question. Yeah, I'm going to do that. That's the question. Digwell says £5 per entry per adult, kids free, £10 prize each for heaviest yields, heaviest spud, and the heaviest kids yield. Brilliant, brilliant. There you go. You could double your investment. I'm going to be signing up as soon as I remember. Nicholas says, I have a question from you. It's about the blue watering can hose pipe. I think you have. How have you found this one? Would have been 5k new. How have you found the blue watering can? It's fine. It's a watering can at the end of the day. It works. That's all I can say. Fill it up with water and we water our plants with it. This one would have been £5,000 new, £915 second hand. Excellent, excellent. You just got to get it down, get it put up, and see how you get on with it. Good topic, says Scott. I thought so. I thought it feels appropriate to talk about greenhouses because they do come into their own at this time of year. Plus, they're then potting up, which I will most likely pay for. Yeah, so you're probably going to be looking at £1,000 anyway. Easy. But yeah, so next week, yeah, is a greenhouse or polytunnel a worthwhile investment? Don't answer yet. Save it for next week. Get your thoughts written down. I think it's going to be good topic to talk about. That attached hose pipes are seen in sale in excess. Yeah. I think it's the one. If it's one I'm thinking of, it's got an attachment to attach to a hose pipe. Obviously, when you're doing it with a hose pipe, it could overfill. Just something to bear in mind. A good topic, says Digwell, and good topic for next week because I have both at school, but only a greenhouse at home. Well, there we go. That answers that. We're definitely going to be discussing that next week. It is, well, we've got about 2 minutes to go. I haven't had a mission set yet. So if you guys would like to come up with a mission, something good, something fun, something challenging, whatever you want to do, just come up with your mission, get it in the comments, and the first one that I see will be what we do, within reason. Nothing illegal and nothing dangerous is the only thing I won't do. For the cook along, we will do the Welsh rarebit, which is something I'm looking forward to because I quite like that anyway. Haven't had it for a while, so that's going to be a nice, tasty one to do. And next week, we will be discussing whether the greenhouse and polytunnel are a worthwhile investment. I'm pretty certain it will be, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So all I need is this mission. Anybody got any ideas? Gary says a tour of your greenhouses. Well, that seems easy enough to do. That seems easy enough to do. I tell you what, because these are all coming in now, we're going to have to do all of these. Mission, strip down and clean and sharpen your secateurs. Okay, we'll do that as well. I really should be taking these down. Mission, make a mini greenhouse, doesn't matter how small. Absolutely. Clean a greenhouse. Absolutely. Okay, we do all that. Blue cans, those blue hose cans look a bit heavy to hold. I'm strong, so I don't find it heavy. If only 10 litres, I think. So we're going to make a small greenhouse. We're going to clean my greenhouse by showing you how it's done and then strip down and service and sharpen my secateurs. That's what we're going to be doing next week. Well, that is it for this week. It's time to get out of here, pack up for the night, and go back to seeing if I can fix my PC. Thanks so much for joining me. This has been a lovely evening spent with you. Apologies to anybody still on Instagram. I can't see the comments, but we'll worry about that another time. Digwell sharpened something as a mission. There we go. We'll tie that all in together. I'm going to have to write these down quickly. Right. I will see you again next Sunday at 6. So until then, please take care.